Good morning. Module 1 is in the books. There was a lot of good work submitted, and I'm happy to see a lot of the effort that's been put into the class so far. I wanted to give a little feedback and kind of just conversation about Module 1, and hopefully this will translate into some success going forward in the course. First, Module 1 was really interested in how does history differ from the past. And the past are the events that have happened, and history is something we do. It's a process, and really it's our endeavor to try to understand the past, or at least more, I think, better put, to find meaning, value, and relevance in the past to the world we live in. So while we have an eye on the past, we are really looking to understand the world we live in, the present time, and why it is that way. A couple of things, I've got a little notes here to talk about how some things that we can continue to improve as we go forward. One, I really want people to try to lean into the modules and the resources provided a little bit more. There's never a time in this course where I say you can't use outside resources that I haven't provided, but I've spent a lot of time curating this class and the resources to try to help you from having to allocate your time of going and looking for stuff, instead trying to spend time and understanding the concepts from the lessons and the resources, how those resources reinforce those concepts. So remember, try to lean into the modules, particularly the concepts that are explored in the pre-writing discussions, as well as the resources provided. One other thing here's a good example of how this some of the strengths and weaknesses in some of the discussions. One of the questions that was asked is, what was the value, or in your writing a prompt for Module 1, it addressed one of the aspects of the prompts is, why should we study the past? Like, what is the value in studying the past? And I want to look at one of the resources from Module 1. And these are some of the concepts, and this is how I want you to kind of lean into some of these things right here. Is like, really, there was an entire lesson devoted to why we should study the past, right? And there were 4 reasons that I really try to emphasize in some of the value in studying the past. And one is academic value, contextualizing the present, personal value, and social value. So a lot of your essays touched on these things, but I think they could be more directly focused, like I said, if you I'd like for you to really hone in on some of these concepts. Now, the biggest weakness that I saw, or I guess a weakness, is one of the areas that I thought a lot of discussions could be improved, was the area of the prompt that said, how do we study the past, right? And look, I've already got my windows messed up here. Let me see here. One of the things is that a lot of essays overlooked was the process of history, right? Is, again, the past are the events that happen. History is our attempt and our endeavor to understand the past. And this really happens in the process of historical inquiry. There was an entire lesson kind of devoted to this process. So I really would have liked students to, in their essays, to try to explore the idea of how we formulate questions about the past, right? We look at questions about the past to understand the world we live in, right? The next part of this process is to gather historical data, or what have traditionally been called sources. And I would have really liked a discussion on historical sources, primary and secondary, and how historians try to evaluate sources to find then the third part of the process after the evaluation, forming questions, evaluating data, is now forming historical interpretations. And a historical interpretation, this is the history, right? This is first, this process is practicing history. But what we're doing when we find form historical interpretations is we try to provide or find or articulate meaning, value, and relevance between the past and the world we live in. So these are some things that I think, one is that we want to get stronger throughout the semester, right? Is that this is never, your academic experience isn't static. You're trying to grow throughout the semester. So what I'd like for you to do is try to apply some of these strengths, some of the things that you did well in this module, but some of these may be the guidance I'm providing here to your future assignments. Don't forget, all modules will kind of have two parts to them, happen over a variety of time. There's that pre-writing where we're kind of working through the ideas in these discussion forums. Then we're going to be forming a module assignment. All module assignments have a very specific criteria with an emphasis of integrating historical sources. And don't forget to put that creative title and that bibliography in, and never forget to participate in the course discussions and comment on your classmates. I have a real high standard of commenting on classmates' work. This is not just something that we do to do. What we're trying to do is find ways to help each other grow in historical understanding, writing ability, and the use of historical sources. All right, so Module 1 in the books. Let's get to work. A lot of work to go. It's only going to get more challenging as we go forward. Make sure you lean into those sources. Have a great weekend.